Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to be reviewing the starting from left to right is the Casio Prg-80, the Suunto core in the middle, and the Suunto Vector far right. Let's start on with the Casio. This Casio is the Prg-80. As you can see, it's in a nice condition. I've had it for about 4 years. I didn't use it much, to be honest. I'm sure people out there who knows this Casio are wondering where's the orange color and the green, which should be on the select button and the adjust, and the barometer, altimeter and compass. It's because purely I found it too cluttered with too many colors, so I thought I'd just color it into black, and I think it looks much nicer like this. Anyway, here we've got the Suunto core, regular and positive face. I prefer this watch to the negative face purely because it's much easier to read. And next to it we have the Suunto Vector, the legendary one. So to go a little bit into details, obviously all of these watches, they're ABC watches. They pretty much do the same thing, but one exception is that the middle one, the core, I would rate this watch as the high-tech one. Is purely because it's got clever mechanism and a driven menu. Behind it, it'd be the Vector. And third place, I'd rate the Casio, and that's purely because the Casio lags behind in terms of technology. Yes, it's true they've got the solar powered, no battery, they're 100-meter water resistant, but in terms of ABC, I'm not sure it's as accurate as it should be, especially when it comes to barometric pressure and altitude. That is like big deal for me because this watch cannot lock on either of them. So even if you're at home, sitting at home, setting your altitude at 90 meters, check it out, half an hour later you're about 130 meters, and that's purely because the barometric, the trend, the weather's changing, so the altitude is changing at the same time. And I don't think that's acceptable for hiking, because if you have a bad weather and you're hiking, your altitude will never be right. Let's have a look. Let's just press on the barometer just to show you. See the graph in there? There's a graph at the top. Okay, the graph is very useful if you are stable, let's say for a couple of good hours, like 4, 6, 8 hours in the same place. So you will have a graph that will show you the weather, what the weather's been doing for the past whatever 10 hours or so. But once you start moving about, the graph become useless, because it will be one dot here, one dot on the other side, and that's purely because it's skipping the barometric trend, because the altitude is affecting the barometric pressure. This is why the Casio is lacking in technology, because it does not understand that it needs to lock on an altitude or lock on the barometer. So yeah, the Casio, great watch, but in terms of functionality, barometer, altitude are behind. The core is a different story. So if we press on the menu and the barometer mode, you see here we have a nice graph. We have a reference altitude set to 95, which gives me 1027 HBA in my local area, which is spot on with the weather forecast. And that is why this watch can predict weather forecasting very accurate. So you have also an auto mode in here, where if you're out and about and you're moving, the watch would know what you're doing exactly and will switch to either mode. If you're stable in a place, it will just go to barometer. If you're moving up and down, that's it would go to altitude. Very clever from Suunto, and that way you can monitor the weather forecast accurately. The Suunto Vector is not bad, at least it measures absolute, and it gives you a sea level pressure if you set a reference altitude, which is, you can't do that in the Casio, but again still affected by the altitude if you're moving up and down. So which means that you need to set a reference at all time to get the sea level pressure. But so many people say, who cares what's the sea level pressure if I'm in a certain location? It just gives me my absolute pressure. That's fine. I agree, that's absolutely fine if you have a good graph like this one. So if you have a good graph like this and your watch is only reading absolute pressure, that's okay, because that is a clear graph what the watch has been doing. But as I said, the Casio, as you take it out and you start moving up and down, that graph is going to be broken into bits and pieces, to be honest with you. It's, as I said, one dot here, one dot there, so you can't even remember what it's been doing, what's the weather been doing. So this is just a brief, review on these three watches. I will be back and I will do a very, very detailed review on what these watches are capable of. Thank you very much for watching.